Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I wanted to share the spring side quests I've been going on, taking advantage of the changing weather and the momentum that's bringing me emotionally and just channeling that into little side quests that bring color and ebullience and wonder to my life. I've been really enjoying these little detours I've been taking. The year was definitely off to a tumultuous start for me, and the spring has definitely brought a little bit of life back. I wanted to bring some of that energy to you all today. Please, in the comments down below, share with me what are some side quests that you want to go on? What are little tiny things that you want to do to bring a little bit more verve to your life? Let me know in the comments down below. My main side quest in life, if you will, is reading, as always, and this is what I am currently reading. Abigail by Magda. So wonderful, really matching my mood. The main character, Gina, is this really headstrong, rebellious girl who is shipped off to boarding school because of circumstances that she doesn't fully understand. She has a wonderful relationship with her father. Her mother passed away when she was very young, but she enjoys this really close and beautiful, understanding relationship with her father, who is a general, and she has this lovely governess, Marcel, and she has her aunt Mimo, who is this sort of like frivolous auntie, like rich auntie, disconnected from reality auntie type character. She just enjoys this really beautiful, privileged life in Budapest, Hungary. The book takes place during World War II. Her father and her have always been so close, and she's not entirely sure why she's being sent off to boarding school, but she arrives there and she feels this disconnect from the rest of her classmates who she views as like really young, naive girls, whereas she is worldly and classy, and she spends a lot of time with adults in her life. She's from the city and these are provincial girls, and it's just so entertaining watching her, just all the hijinks that she gets up to, and she's constantly getting in trouble. There is that lightness to the story and like the girlhood of it all, but at the same time it's World War II and it's Hungary, and there are all of these actually very serious things happening around the school. And I think that this book does such a wonderful job of both creating the world inside the school and having this world outside of the school. Yeah, I am loving this book. I'm like almost done with it actually. I think the ending is only cementing it as a 5-star read. I feel pretty confident saying that this is going to be one of my favorite books of the year. Absolutely adored this. I love Gina. This book and the other book that I'm going to talk about have brought me out of not necessarily a reading slump, but just a pattern of reading in 2026 that has emerged for me, is just like reading books that I was not really vibing with, not super motivated by. So I'm so excited that I picked this up and I loved it, and I'm so excited to read more Magda books. I believe I have Issa's Ballad and The Door by her as well. So really, really happy that I'm having some good reads after a slew of mediocre to bad reads. I mentioned another book, The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. I came across a Instagram ad for the TV show on Instagram a couple weeks ago, and I was like immediately intrigued by the premise of The Other Bennet Sister, which focuses on Mary Bennet. Mary is the younger sister of Elizabeth Bennet, the main character of Pride and Prejudice. Mary is drawn as this character who has a lot of interiority and struggles a lot with comparisons to her sisters. Her sisters are all described as being beautiful, and her mom's, especially Mrs. Bennet, there's this intense conflict between Mary and Mrs. Bennet because Mrs. Bennet is drawn as more of a superficial character than I remember her being in Pride and Prejudice, but that's not to say that those inclinations weren't there. I think that The Other Bennet Sister definitely takes Mrs. Bennet and puts a little bit of a spin on her. Realistic, maybe a little bit less forgiving of Mrs. Bennet's character, and really of Mr. Bennet's character as well. I think in Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Bennet is portrayed as this like loving father, but this book takes a little bit more of a critical eye towards the Bennet family. It's a pretty tall order to go up against Jane Austen in her own book and her own story, and to come out somewhat competent as a writer. To be fair, Janice Hadlow is not trying to rewrite Pride and Prejudice, and she doesn't really touch the happily ever afters of Elizabeth or Jane. She's not not trying to rewrite those stories. She's just trying to add a little bit more color to this world, maybe, and maybe trying to take a little detour, which I think is appropriate for this video. It's a little side quest in the world of Pride and Prejudice, looking at Mary. A lot of people would probably find this book boring because it is, again, like really concerned with the interiority of Mary, and there are these really long sections where, you know, not a lot is happening. Pride and Prejudice, for all of its, you know, it's a very entertaining book. It's a romance book at its heart. The other Bennet sister is like half of a romance book, like at a certain point it turns into a romance book, but the first half is really just a character study of Mary. So you have to wait a little bit to get to that romance part, but for me, it only made the romance that much better. I also saw some people say on Goodreads that it could have been shorter. I agree, but at the same time, I loved how long this book was, and just while I was reading it, I was in it was February, like into April time, and I just really needed a book to get me out of the funk February blues, the winter blues that I was feeling, and it brought me into spring, and I am so thankful for it. I don't normally need a book to be relatable, but I related to Mary Bennet so hard, and I love Mary so much, and I'm really, really excited to watch the TV show, especially because Donal Flynn from the Wheel of Time show is going to be in it. This is what immediately caught my eye when I saw the Instagram ad. I was like, hello, is that Matt Cawthon? Really happy to see that he is having a little bit of a breakout, because I think he's also in the Young Sherlock show, so good for him. So happy that he's having his moment, and yeah, I'm really excited to see the show. Glad that I read the book first, because I think the show is going to be taking a little bit more of the Bridgerton approach, applying modern sensibilities to a Regency tale and like making it a little bit more modern, which is fine. I think the book definitely does not do that, and it's hard to explain. Like, I'm bad at explaining like the differences between like a Bridgerton take versus what the other Bennet sister is doing, the book, because it's not that she's saying, like, she's not like applying feminism to Mary Bennet, like a modern understanding of feminism to Mary Bennet, but it is very much like the same first principles of like Mary Bennet wanting to experience equality and like her studying philosophy and like all of these things. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I highly recommend The Other Bennet Sister if you are a fan of Bridgerton but you want something that's a little bit more well written. I will say I did try to read the first Bridgerton book and I gave up because I was like, I just didn't want to waste my time reading something that was not that good. I feel like when I watch Bridgerton, like it's just like turning my brain off for a little bit, and I just enjoy the pretty dresses and the drama. A TV show is so much less investment than reading the book series. Like, reading a book takes so much longer. Though, to be fair, I'm not saying that Bridgerton is a subpar TV show. I think it does what it wants to do very well, and it knows what it wants to do very well. So, but anyways, that is a whole tangent. I'd highly recommend The Other Bennet Sister, and I also highly recommend Abigail by Magda Szabo, and that is what I have been reading. I also have been going on other side quests that do not involve reading, and I wanted to share. So the first one is I learned how to knit. I have always wanted to learn how to knit. It has been a lifelong desire of mine. I actually remember being very young and trying to teach myself how to knit, and I just could never figure it out. Came across a class close by where you could go and learn knitting in 3 hours. So I signed up. I was so excited, and I went and I learned how to knit and purl, and that is how I made these 2 mittens, fingerless mittens, and I am just so excited to make more things. Knitting is surprisingly more simple than I thought it would be, and also at the same time so complicated. Creative, it's challenging, it's just so wonderful, and it has such a wonderful history, and I feel like I've been connected to this underground world of people who knit. There are all these little like knitting culture isms that I'm learning about, and it's fascinating, and I just love it. And it is such a wonderful, cool art form to be able to take a string of yarn and turn it into something that you can wear. I think that is just magic and incredible, and I'm so excited to make more things. I actually bought this yarn to make a baby blanket for one of my dear friends who's having her first baby. I'm just infusing it with all of my good thoughts and happy feelings that I want her baby to feel. I've only really made this pair of mittens so far, and the baby blanket is going to be my second project. Excited to make more things. I want to make socks, I want to make sweaters, I want to make cardigans, I want to make shawls, I want to make more blankets. Every single one of my friends is going to be getting a baby blanket whenever they have kids now, and yeah, I am so excited that I decided to take the plunge and learn a new skill. I've made new friends through knitting already, and yeah, I'm just very, very excited about my newfound hobby. A few weeks ago, I went to the Boston MFA, and I had such a lovely afternoon wandering around, looking at art. While I was there, there was a high school class that was there with their teacher, and she was lecturing them and like teaching them about the paintings and art history.
Beautiful colors, but read into it, and it's literally a historical 1781 incident happened. The ship Zong, which
I didn't want to like tag along their group, obviously, because it was like a classroom and I didn't want to be like a weird person following them around, but I could still hear them in the gallery as I was moving around on my own, and it really just added to my experience of being in the museum, just hearing her lecture them. And the MFA is such a beautiful, well-appointed, gorgeous museum, and I was there. It was, sort of a quieter afternoon, like there weren't a lot of people there, so I really just felt like I got lost in the museum, and like genuinely I actually did get lost. By the time I was ready to leave, I could not find my way out. I had to ask the security guard the way out, and he was like, yeah, I've been working here 9 years and someone asked me that every single day. It's just a beautifully architected building because it's so easy to get lost in it, and it feels so grand and classical at the same time. I like to treat going to the museum as this sort of emotional, spiritual bath for my thoughts, where I'm taking in these tiny, imperceptible changes that I'm absorbing through the artwork and absorbing the emotion and the passion that went into creating these artworks, and allowing them to enter into my brain and reorder my thoughts and introduce a little bit of entropy and chaos to my thoughts, which tend to be in these really rigid, cyclical patterns that I can't break out of. And so going to a museum and just absorbing the art really helps me break out of that. I feel like I paid attention to details of artwork. Like I just zoomed in on so many pictures and paintings and like paid attention to the brush strokes, or when I couldn't see the brush strokes, and noticing that detail. Something else that I really love looking at when I go to museums is like interior design. I really love exhibitions where they will have like a room set up or like furniture, and I just sort of absorb that information for one day when I have my own house. I want to put that information to use somehow. And going to the museum, even if I don't explicitly learn anything, I always have such a great time. And I did actually spend some time knitting at the museum in front of a Winslow Homer painting. They had a bench and I just sat there and knitted a few rows for a little bit on my baby blanket. I did go to a Florence and the Machine concert. This was my second time seeing Florence and the Machine in concert. I saw her a few years ago in LA when she came for her Dance Fever tour, and this time was the Everybody Scream tour in Boston. A great show. I think I enjoyed it maybe a little bit more than the Dance Fever tour, probably because she played a lot of songs from her previous albums. I feel like there were a lot of songs from Ceremonials, from Lungs, Dance Fever. She did a bunch of songs from Dance Fever, actually. Fewer songs than I would have thought from her latest album, but I think that makes sense given how dark her latest album was. Having to tour that and sing that every single night probably would have been really emotionally hard for her. So I'm sure there was also a little bit of like algorithmic encouragement there, where playing your greatest hits is helpful in selling out tickets. And I mean, the stadium was sold out completely. It's definitely working, and she's super popular. Even in 2026, she's going strong. So yeah, it was just a lovely, lovely show. And my phone was actually dying, so I didn't take that many videos. And I mean, generally at a concert, I try to be present, but I feel like my phone being almost dead definitely made me more intentional about when I took videos and took photos, and it encouraged me to be more present than maybe I would have been otherwise. So that's maybe a hack. Have your phone be on like 10% at all times, because then you'll be less likely to go on your phone for no reason, and really just use it for its expressed purpose, which is to communicate with other people. I will say, I wish she had played more songs from How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful. That is my personal favorite album. That was the album that I listened to every morning walking to the bus in high school before I got a car. But she played Shake It Out. She played Never Let Me Go. So I can't complain. Also that day, we went to go spectate at the marathon. I was cheering on one of my family members, and I was, just so inspired by the atmosphere at the marathon. Obviously, you have all of these people who are doing this incredibly difficult thing, and all of the people who come out to support the marathon. I mean, the Boston Marathon is kind of like the biggest deal when it comes to marathons, so that in and of itself felt really special that I got to witness that. And yeah, I actually signed up for a half marathon later this year, and it was definitely inspired by all of that energy and wanting to be part of that world, the running world. I ran a half marathon in 2021, and I had such a great time. I did a terrible job of preparing for it, so I'm looking forward to being better at preparing. Running is such a wonderful therapeutic activity. It's sort of like just nice to, after a long day at work, go for a little bit of a run. Another side quest I am bringing into my life this spring. What else? Any other side quests that I wanted to talk about? Museum, marathon, knitting, books, of course. Hopefully one of these days I want books to be my main quest in life, but we're not quite there yet. I do often wonder, like, if I had become an English major in college, or if I had gone down that path, would I still enjoy books as much as I do? Or do I only love reading and put it on such a high pedestal because it's like my escape from real life? And if I made it my job, would I not love it as much? I don't know. That's a question I often think of. The old fig tree, as Sylvia Plath has talked about. But please let me know in the comments down below, what are your spring side quests? I would love to know. They can be big or they can be small. Oh, one big one for me actually is wedding planning. I think it's such a privilege that I get to have a wedding. It's been really lovely, and we went to a really cool event at our wedding venue today and got to walk around and see tablescapes and got my makeup done actually. So if I look better than normal, it's because I had a little bit of a makeup demo. I think that's enough rambling for now. Thank you so much for watching my video, and until next time, take care.